Hello, everybody, and welcome to the live. There are loads of people here. There are loads of questions, so we're going to get stuck right in. So I'll meet and greet various people as we get going, but I probably should start by meeting and greeting Mark.
Hello.
So Mark is back.
That's why there's so many people on.
Yeah, that maybe it is, and there's loads and loads of questions there. So we'll get stuck into those quite quickly. A couple of housekeeping things, of course. If you have a question, a lot of people who are regular have done already, write the word question. And if you put little asterisks either side, that is also really good because it makes it even easier to stand out. So that's really good. And I will talk a little bit later about a few other bits and pieces coming. I just want to give a meet and greet to My Tech Travel, who's become a member recently. And I'll talk a little bit more about memberships later. But let's get straight into the questions. And as I said, we'll meet and greet people as we go. So Bob and Holly have a question for Mark. And there's lots of questions for Mark related to Cunard, not Cunard, etc., etc. So we will come back to those. So question for Mark, do you have any plans to cruise on Queen Anne? And if so, what are you looking forward to about her?
Hello, Bob. Hello, Holly. Yes, we have actually booked for May 24 to go on Queen Anne. So it's the second one, I think, isn't it? Second one, which goes down to the Canaries, which is more for, I mean, where it's going is less important, just to see it. So, I mean, I'm just interested to see how Cunard it is and whether it, as you know, I really love Cunard and I like what they offer. So it's interesting to see whether it's very similar or not. We booked to go in Queen's Grill, so it's going to be interesting to see how Queen's Grill compares, and just generally to kind of see a new Cunard ship, which has been a long time coming. So it'll be exciting to see it.
And it's going to be interesting to see, because they're obviously sort of trying to evolve it, and the pictures that have appeared so far, it's not clear how much it's going to change or not change. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they evolve it. So there's another question sort of linked to that thing around, will you ever take Mark? I don't always take you. Well, I guess will you ever go with Mark on a Regent or a Ponant? The PST doesn't like to try anything new, and the Queen's Grill formula seems the only one. Will you ever go on anything else?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, I do love Cunard. That's definitely true. But the main reason is just, I suppose it's something that I know I like. And because I work full time and therefore have limited vacation time, I kind of feel like, okay, there's a risk of trying something new. Whereas going on Queen's Grill on Cunard, I kind of know I like it. And therefore, there's less of a risk, I suppose. However, Ponant, we're actually going on Port Gargan in June, which I think is now owned by Ponant, isn't it? So, we're going to do that. Regent Seven Seas, I absolutely want to go on, and I was very jealous that I missed the trip that Gary went on recently, and that is definitely on my list to do. We were actually looking at one for the end of 2024 recently, so it is definitely, yeah.
We've been looking at the brochure. Sarah said we've been looking at the brochure. There's a Panama Canal one that we.
Yeah, so I would really love to try that. So although I do like Queen's Grill, I don't want people to think that I'm not up for trying new things. I am. It's just the risk. Once maybe I'm not working, I have more time, I'll be definitely much more interested to try more.
So Ken goes cruising. He's going to try, I think it's the 1st of March, his first live, and he'd asked for some tips. So hopefully, I guess that means he must think the lives that we do work. So that's good. So we'll jump to and fro questions. I'll sort of work through them. Midwest Kate, who's a regular, looking at Great Lakes cruise with Viking. They look a bit pricey. They're very pricey. I've been looking at that. Yes, I had looked and thought about going. I'm keen to do the Great Lakes. But actually, there are another provider. We actually watched a Jay McDonald one. I think it was on Variety Cruises. Was it Variety Cruises? Who was very interesting, and that was one that you also said you'd quite like.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to do the Great Lakes, actually.
So have a look at that. I think Variety were bought by American Cruise Line, American whatever. So have a look at that, Kate, because the ship looked pretty good from that one. I did jump a question here, which Michelle was asking: how warm outdoor clothing do you need when cruising around the Horn in March? Hello to both of you. So I'll be able to better tell you that in a couple of weeks' time, because on Wednesday. Well, on Friday, I'm boarding Honda America Amsterdam, and we're going from Chile round through the Horn, etc. I did cruise around the Horn in November once, come back on Ponant, actually, from Antarctica. And it wasn't massively cold, but it was quite windy, as you would expect. So it's kind of a big puffer jacket thing, and for me, definitely a hat. But I'll definitely be able to tell you much more in a couple of weeks' time. So post about that. This one you might also have a view on, Mark, which is we're thinking of taking our first Southeast Asia cruise in 2025. What line and itinerary would you recommend? We've looked at Celebrity and Princess, but we've been told smaller ships are best. So we've done it on Queen Mary 2 and also on Queen. Well, no, it was really Queen Mary 2 because we only joined in Hong Kong, and we didn't really do that. So,
well, we did Queen Elizabeth. We did Japan on Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, we did Japan, but we only went to Korea.
Yeah.
So I mean, in reality, going on a smaller ship in these areas is always very interesting because it often gets you into smaller ports. I think what we found on Queen Mary 2, which would be true on Celebrity and Princess, is you're going to call it the big ports, and that's really important because, for example, when we were on Queen Mary 2 and we went to Ho Chi Minh City, I can't remember the name of the port exactly, but the port was like an hour and a half away. Yeah. It was a really long way away. When we got into Ho Chi Minh City in Saigon, which is one of the areas there, there was a Silversea ship there. So going on a smaller ship also means on some days you get much closer. But there are a couple of ports there where you are quite far away from where you want to go. Like when we went to Bangkok, we were at Chambok, if I remember correctly. So a lot of the places are quite far. So check that. The advantage of the smaller ships, definitely. So Azamara, Oceania, kind of thing would.
I'd definitely look at a smaller ship next time.
I would look at a smaller ship. So let's see. We have a lot. They never come up properly. Let me see if I can bring that up. I've got like a super chat thing. Let me bring that up. Is it a question? No. Another fun and informative Q&A. I'm hooked. Well, that's very good. We only just started. So there we go. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. So let's have a look. We've got to, okay. Frederic, no is the short answer. I haven't been on Atlas Ocean Voyages. I've seen the ship when I actually went to that Antarctica trip I was talking about earlier. The ship, which had just really started sailing because it was the end of 2021, was there. It looked a very nice ship. I know people who've been on it had kind of mixed reviews, but that was very early on. So I don't know a lot. If you take a look at One Loop Travel, they've got a lot of videos. They've been on Atlas Ocean Voyages a couple of times, and he's got a couple of ship tours and reviews. So he's probably a good source for that.
Having been to Lisbon very recently, it'll be great to visit Lisbon. I'd say they go from Nice to Lisbon. I hadn't been until last year. I just had 4 days there. Great city, lots to do, really well priced, really nice.
Yeah, Lisbon's a fabulous city. Tony, hi there. Good to see Tony. The city of Monterey in California, just south of San Francisco, has effectively banned cruise ships after voting to terminate city services for them. There's a couple of places in the US that have sort of done that, like Key West, but actually the Florida state basically overruled the Key West. And if you follow people on social media, every time a ship goes in, which is every day, they post about it. So there are a number of places looking at banning cruise ships. So I haven't followed this one in a lot of detail, but it'd be interesting to see what the California state does. Now, I guess California state is probably would side with them a bit more than Florida, where the cruise industry is so integrated. But I think
and is that from a pollution? Is it a pollution issue?
Yeah. So in Key West, it was done because they had a poll. No, poll's the wrong word. What's a referendum or whatever it's called? And it was because they felt that the big ships were damaging the reef and pollution and over tourism and stuff. So I mean, it is something that we see a lot. The concern about tourism over tourism. So it'd be interesting to see what the state of California does. Here's one that you can definitely answer, which is Robert. Good to see Robert. We're returning to Alaska in May. Very nice. On the Koningsdam, which is a very nice ship. In a Neptune suite, definitely yay. Which aspects of the ship did you most enjoy, and which not so much? So maybe you have
definitely. So we were in a Neptune suite, weren't we?
Suite, yeah.
So I mean, the suite is nice. The suite is really nice. So that will be great. I mean, then you have the really nice concierge lounge that you have access to, and that actually was just really nice place to go and grab a cup of coffee. They do amazing cake pops. You must have a cake pop. Vinny, the guy that ran it, was really nice, really helpful. It kind of provides a concierge service, so that's good. I mean, it means you get access to Club Orange restaurant, which again, when we went at Christmas, the ship was very, very busy. And so the main restaurant was very busy and you were being given buzzers and waiting. And so actually having access to Club Orange restaurant was really nice. The other thing I loved was the retreat. So but actually you're going to Alaska, so the retreat is probably not
probably
a
not
point.
so
So,
much.
you know, up on the deck 11, deck 12, they have the retreat, which is
12.
private cabanas. And we were in Mexico, sun was shining, it was lovely up there. So I think some of the benefits you get of staying in the suite were really nice. I mean, for me, you know, there is the whole music walk. Yeah, what's it called? The music walk. It's just not my thing, and therefore for me it was fine that it was there, but it just wasn't something that really attracted me. Very nice casino if you're a gambler. I mean, great blackjack tables, nice, busy, big casino, which was nice.
I think also the other things I would say is the theatre is very nice. It's in the round. However, it's not very well, what's the terminology, stacked. So actually on the area around the stage is not a good place to sit because you're doing this.
You either want to be on the front row or you want to be on the tiered bit.
On the tiered section. But the music walk, I think, is great. Anything we didn't really like, I don't know, because the ship's a good size. I mean, it was very full, but even it wasn't too manically bad. But you know, so it's a big ship, but it's still quite easy to get around. The food was pretty good. Yeah,
the food was good. I mean, I do think staying in the suite gives you lots of lovely extra things, which is really nice to have. So you'll definitely enjoy those, I think.
I think the shows, I mean, they've tried to improve the shows by doing the partnership with the One Step Dance Company, but they are, even though they have 4 or 5 shows, they're actually basically the same show.
Yeah. So but it is an amazing theatre. I mean, they have really cool kind of technology and lighting and everything in there, which is really good.
So Paul and Carol are here, Beth's here, which is good. I saw Sarah was here, Cherry's here, so lots of regulars here. So Jeffrey's asking a question, which cruise line ship has the best fitness offering? Princess is updating the offering to include exponential plus classes. Others may try to use fitness well as a differentiator. I mean, it's interesting. It feels, I mean, with the new Princess ship, I guess they're trying to catch up because they have been kind of left behind a little bit by some of the things that Celebrity and stuff are doing. I mean, generally speaking, I would say the best fitness offerings of all are on Virgin by some margin, just in terms of the size of the facilities, the range of classes they do, both more fun classes they do sort of in the manor, which is, you know, the sort of retro aerobics thing. But, you know, they are the most hardcore, best fitness offerings. The rest, I think, are fairly generic.
I mean, I guess in general, the bigger the ship, the bigger the gym, etc. And it's just disappointing sometimes. I know when we were on Queen Victoria, actually every port day they had a spin class, and for me that was great. I would go to spin class every day. 8 or 9 in the morning was a spin class. Even on Holland America, which had quite a big gym and a nice studio, there was only sort of 2 in the week. So yeah, it's one you want kind of regular stuff.
And I think, you know, particularly as Mark was saying, if you go into Royal Caribbean's Norwegian, I mean, they have massive gyms, like huge gyms. I remember when I was on, was it Anthem? I mean, it's a huge, massive gym.
And the thing with the classes is if you have to go as soon as you get on and book in, because there are, you know, 10 places to spin. And I think we went up in the afternoon that we got on, and I just got the last place.
And
so,
you were waitlisted for the other one.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how much fitness will be a differentiator. Some of the river cruise lines are sort of trying it as a differentiator with the more active excursions. I think the excursion side is probably a better differentiator. Beth was asking the question about the biofuel. I'll touch on that. For those of you who don't know, New Zealand introduced new, not biofuel, biofoul, introduced some new regulations which the cruise lines didn't really keep up to speed with. And so I think I've seen at least 4 ships, and it might be more ships, refused entry into New Zealand because they hadn't got rid of the growth that happens on the hull. So normally, you know, ships every couple of years have to go into dry dock, which is partly technical, and they do a big deep clean. So Regent was caught out, Queen Elizabeth was caught out, and a few other lines. I can't remember, was it Viking? I think it was one. I don't know that they will. I think they will just get their act together. It just feels like the cruise lines, to me anyway, just hadn't really taken it seriously enough. And as Jeffrey said, you know, they're just going to have to get better. I don't think they'll take it up. New Zealand's such a big draw, and you just have to look at the number of cruises in New Zealand. Now we were looking, in fact, we were watching some stuff last weekend. We were looking at like New Zealand and stuff, and the amount of choices enormous.
Yeah, they'll just get better to make sure.
I think they'll just have to get their act into gear, get their gear. Anyway, you know what I mean. So sorry to block someone who's posting spam. Claire, I'll be doing a solo cruise from Athens on MSC Symphonia in August. Do you think I'll have any problems with regards to being Italian? I'm not speaking the language. So Claire, they do things multilingual. One thing that MSC does very well is deal with multiple languages. So you're absolutely right. You will have a very, very diverse crowd of people, but there'll be a big chunk of Italians, a big chunk of Spanish, etc., 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 and they'll do everything in 6 languages, and they are pretty good because they have so much expertise. So you'll find, you'll always get your English daily program. You'll be able to choose excursions with an English guide and that sort of stuff. In fact, you almost won't know that. It does get a little bit tiresome with the announcements because they have to do the announcements in 6 languages. What they do with the entertainment is they make it as a non-language as possible. And I can't remember what they do with the trivias and stuff like that. So I don't think you'll have any problems because they see themselves as kind of an international line, not so much even an Italian line, even though you're right, they have very strong. So I think you will find it's pretty good. Warren Wolf, how many people access shareholder shipboard benefits? I don't know how many people do. There's a Facebook group I'm a member of, like the Carnival one. Quite a lot of people do. I have I think it's 100 shares you have to have, and I make sure for all my Carnival group ones. I don't know what number it is. If anyone does know, that would be good to know. Here we go. We were just talking about this.
I was just looking, Steve, at the weather forecast, and like it's getting chilly and rainy next week or something. It seemed very un-Palm Springs to me, but I'll be there definitely later in the year.
So as you know, Marcus loves Palm Springs, and every couple of days he said, "Do you know what the temperature is in Palm Springs?" And I have to guess the temperature.
But it does seem to have been strangely chilly there for sure. So yeah.
Eric, Tamarind does have a surcharge for dinner. It's not complimentary for lunch. They don't open for lunch at all, I don't think. They might on a sea day, but I think I'm right in saying it's only open for dinner. And Tamarind, Pinnacle Grill, Rudy Saldamer, and Canaletto all have charges, and they vary based on it. But they're always charged. Even Pinnacle Grill, which does open some days on sea days for lunch, has a charge. The only thing it doesn't have a charge is main dining room, the buffet, and then what's it called? Dive in like the burger bar, and the pizza place. Millie, mile marker, definitely hope you do that soon. It's going solo is great on cruise. It's very welcoming and friendly. There's Sarah saying hi,
Sarah.
Mark, which is great to see. Sarah's been very busy. I have to say shout out to Sarah. Sarah's been incredibly busy for me the last 2 weeks, not booking my trips, although we've had some trips, although I'm about to send her an email, which she doesn't know about, for some more trips I wanted to book. But been working very hard on the group cruise for September 2024. It's been much more problematic and challenging than the patron-only group cruise. But that will go on sale in March and April, and I'm actually just notifying people. So we're going to initially launch that just to manage the process to patrons and members on the 1st of March, and then people on the mailing list, which I'll put a link to, a couple of weeks after that. Someone's house alarm. No name. Hi there. I'm researching Panama Canal cruises, as you should do. It's an absolute must do. What are the pros and cons or differences of traveling the canal west to east or east to west? Vikings doing both directions this year. So no name. I won't spend a lot of time on that, but I will do a punt for my video. I will answer the question. In my most recent video on Panama Canal, I talk in quite a lot of detail about going east to west, west to east, and both are fantastic. So doing it is fantastic. Personally, I really like doing, which is the one that you've done with me as well, heading from the Caribbean side to the Pacific side. And the only reason for that is when you first head in from the Caribbean side, you have the first set of locks, which are very close to each other, and the Gatton locks, the 3 sets of locks, and it's just that magic of doing the 3. once you get to the other side, you do one set of locks, a gap, another set of locks. But they are amazing whichever way you do. But have a look at that. And in fact, we were looking at doing which I know Bob and Holly are doing after the patrons group cruise in April. They're going that way around from Caribbean into Pacific. Either way is great. I've done it both ways.
I have to say, Gary is obsessed with doing it and would do it every cruise.
I mean,
I
was just talking to Sarah about this as well. I mean, the next group cruise after the one we're doing, which is at Canada, New England, I pretty much 90% want to make it the Panama Canal one. And I convinced Mark that he needs to do Panama again.
Yeah, no, I definitely like to.
When Mark last time we did the Panama Canal, because it was just laid down and relaxed. It was like, I'm running around.
Oh, you're running around doing videos and photos.
So
I was having a nice, relaxing time.
I was so excited. One thing I would say, and I talk about in the videos, make sure that whatever ship you choose, which Viking will do because of the size of the ship, it's the old canal. If you're going to do, make sure it's the old canals. Glad to see that you're participating here. Let's have a look. There we are, Steve. I've just answered the question. So yes, it's been finalised. For patrons and members, will go on sale on the 1st. On the mailing list, if you're not on the mailing list, get on the mailing list. I can't remember the date. I did write it down that Sarah and I agreed, and it's also partly just to manage the process, so Sarah can process everything. But it was a lot of work to get there, but we're very excited. It's all coming in. Let's have. I think Mark would like. I think Mark. Oops, Sherry's saying Sherry's a big fan of Regent. Would like 7 seasons.
I would really like to go.
He's going to be really annoyed because I'm going on Regent in October to Japan, which he can't do. So because you're at work, he's on holiday and a work thing. Viv, hi there, Viv. So Viv's asked a question from Facebook. I guess most people are probably watching this on YouTube, but we also go live on LinkedIn and Facebook if you want a bit of variety. Viv, are you concerned about norovirus when you sail? I hear there was a recent outbreak on the Arcadia World Cruise. You answer that first.
I mean, I don't. We have been on the ship before when there was an outbreak on Queen Mary 2. I mean, it's just one of the things you have to accept. And I think, we're just careful. You wash your hands, you try not to touch stuff, you just do everything. I mean, it's a COVID type thing. You're just careful, but I would never let it put me off doing a trip because of that. So no is the answer for me.
I mean, in reality, norovirus, I mean, it's interesting because there's been lots of publicity in the UK about norovirus. It's one of its highest levels. It's been for ages. As Mark said, I've been on a number of times on ships with norovirus and, touch wood, not got it because literally, washing your hands, using the gel, it does make a massive difference. It's literally spread by touching stuff. So it's a bit like if you're obsessive as we all were in the peak days of COVID, it's a good way. I don't worry about it as such. I mean, if you do get norovirus, you do have to stay in your cabin for X amount of days until you have, I can't remember what it is, X amount of time without.
And I think if you've been cruising, you knew the wash your hands for a happy birthday to you, because that's what you used to do. But like they said in COVID, for the same length of time. So actually, the COVID things are very similar. So
they are very similar. Here's an interesting question, which I touched on. No, I didn't. It was Bob and Holly and I were talking separately about this, actually, not on a live stream. So the ETIAS visa system is being introduced now. It was originally coming in May, and the EU have pushed it back to after the summer because I think they were also worried, because it obviously affects the people from the UK, there was going to be chaos in the school holidays. So they've pushed it back. So it is introducing a system, for those people who don't know, who's a little bit like as people come into the US have to do, so we have to do an EST online, and we have to do the fingerprints and stuff. Now, the thing with the European system is the first time you enter the EU after it comes in is you have to register your biometrics. So you have to do the fingerprint stuff. And that is going to slow things down, which is what they're all trying to find a way of alleviating it and making it much easier. So there's a lot of pressure on them to try and get it so it's more streamlined. Personally, I don't think it will affect cruising just because people will just get used to it. I mean, every time we go into the US, we face that issue. So all the people have, there's lots of people going to the US to cruise. So I don't think it will. I guess people from the US might find it frustrating, but it's probably no more frustrating. I guess you have to do a similar thing when you go to Canada.
Just a new process.
It's just a new process. I think the good thing is that they're introducing it after the summer. So there will be during the winter when there's less cruising, less tourism. Hopefully they'll get this sorted out. I think it will be a bit chaotic when they first introduce it, because it's just sort of, I mean, it's really frustrating, as you know, and it's I have one of my little rants, is the EU. You know, if we go into if you come to the UK, for example, whether you're from the EU, the US, Canada, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, loads of countries, you can use the e-gates to come in. The EU, you have to be a member of the EU to use the e-gates. Drives me crazy. But anyway, let's have a look. Ted asks the question, I cruise with Holland America. Is there an advantage using an independent travel agent over the Holland America cruise consultant? I'm maybe a little bit biased. I believe very strongly in using an independent travel agent, partly because, and if you use an independent person, I'll use Sarah as an example, because obviously I work with Sarah. I can get hold of Sarah by phone, by WhatsApp, by email, and if she's not around, there is an emergency contact, which travel counselors have. So when I've been stuck before with an issue, I can just contact her or whatever. So that immediacy is very important. Also, you know, Sarah knows my quirks. I have horrible quirks, which probably drives you crazy, around cabins and all sorts of things, what seats I want, which we've had a long discussion with this week, what seats I want on flights and blah, blah, blah. So they can get to know everything. And the advantage is, you know, if you decide not to cruise with Holland America, you want to cruise with Celebrity, your independent consultant knows all that stuff and can guide you through that process and suggest, you know, this is going to work for you, not going to work for you. And you will never pay more. That's really important. And you may pay less, but you'll never pay more. I did want to do one quick thing. Bill, where's it gone? Tim, this is maybe a running joke. So last week, if you remember, Tim had his picture of the chocolate oranges, which I got very excited about. And I talked about how Mark likes dark, I like light, and he's very kindly given us £2 for chocolate oranges.
I'll be getting one,
which we really like. Right. So, My Tech Travel, who I'm going already as a member, thank you for joining. My partner and I booked on our first Queen Mary 2 transatlantic, which will be amazing. It's an incredible experience. The ship is then going in for dry dock. Do you think the experience could be negatively impacted as they prep? Generally speaking, I would be more concerned the first cruise afterwards. So it's that tends to be the big issue. I guess you're coming this way. I'm guessing you're coming this way if it's going straight into dry dock, because it'll then be coming this, back to Europe and then into. I don't know where they're doing the dry dock. Are they doing it in France or in Germany? Because the ship is obviously built in France. I wouldn't worry about it so much, because it's more when you're coming out when they haven't finished. And certainly in the last couple of times they haven't. It's what we don't know yet is. I mean, unless you've seen something different, but we don't know what they're doing in the dry dock. So dry dock, all ships have to go into dry dock, and a lot of it's technical. So it's actually about scraping the hull, as we talked about earlier. It's about engines and stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be making cosmetic changes. Last dry dock, I expect they will be, because last dry dock is quite a long time ago. They ripped out all the carpets and stuff. And there is a lot of rumor they're changing the Sir Samuel's and all the Godiva stuff and turning that into a gin bar or something. I don't know. So,
but we were on there in May last year, and by no means does it look like, oh my God, it needs to go to dry dock at all. And I hadn't done a transatlantic for a while, and I absolutely loved it. It was such a great experience again. So I'm sure you'll really enjoy that trip.
So Kate asked the question, are there any cruises in Asia in your future travels, in particular to Japan? Yes, I'm going in October to Japan. At the moment, I don't have any other Asia, but I would like to do some more Asia in 2024, which I'm sort of looking at. You're less keen on Asia in the cruises we do.
Well, I loved the Japan though. We did Queen Elizabeth, which had about 8 stops around Japan, and it was amazing. And
but you were less fussed when we went to Shanghai and Busan and South Korea stuff. You did like Taiwan though.
Yeah, like Taipei.
So I am definitely looking at that. So here we go. Someone else from lots of Palm Springs here. The advantage, I guess, of being cold in Palm Springs is they're here watching the live stream.
I mean, I still don't believe it's cold. We're in London. It's not cold in Palm Springs. It's just not as warm as it normally is.
It's cold if it's 9.
No, but there's one day, I think, that it's...
short answer, I haven't been on Allure. So if anyone has... leave some comments or certainly links to some good videos. I'm trying to think I don't think who I've seen recently covering Allure. I'm not sure. Sorry, I wasn't very helpful. Hi, Jayan, another regular. We're going on Azamara next month, but worried about what happened to Paul and Carol. Do you think they just got unlucky? I hope they got an apology for Azamara. I don't know if they got an apology. I know they were talking to Azamara. So certainly,
what did happen to Paul and Carol?
They did a whole video around really bad customer service. They haven't got flooded. I think they just felt they were the way the issues weren't dealt with very well by the guest services kind of team. So they got a bit frustrated by that. And so Azamara, I think, since the shutdown and the change of ownership, they seem to be have taken a while to get into their stride. Certainly, I did a review of them based on last year, which is kind of lukewarmish. And lots of people have contacted me since and recently saying, look, we've seen an improvement. People go on regularly. So I think it's kind of, it's growing. I mean, lots of cruise lines have had kind of mixed experiences so far with crew and stuff. So I think they're getting more into their stride. So so this is how we're going. Blah, 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 blah. I think they're definitely getting stronger. Is the sense I've got. Chris, hope all is well. Yes, I am an AMA River Cruise 6-time whale. I love AMA waterways. I'm going in April on the Egypt cruise, which I'm very excited about. So what line should I use to go from Venice to Athens would be good as AMA? Also, I'm a solo cruiser. Okay, so my original thought was something like a Viking. I would do Oceania. I think, because AMA is obviously very upmarket, very plush, really good food is the way I see them, good excursions. I would look at Oceania. Now, as a solo cruiser, Oceania is a little bit costly, but they do have ocean views inside, if that appeals to make it a little bit less costly. But Oceania would be great. If you want to go something a little bit bigger, because I'm thinking, if you use AMA, it comes the smallness of the ship. That's why I'm thinking kind of small. Viking is very expensive as a solo. That would be my top tip. Elaine, what is absolutely, so this will be interesting to see based on when we were there. I think I know what your answer might be. Hi there, Elaine. What is the one absolutely must do on an Alaska cruise?
Can I give two or not?
You can give two, I guess.
So one, and you'll have to tell me where it was. One was the train that we went on, which is in
Skagway,
and you get the train up to mountain, which was amazing. But then when we were in Juneau, we got the helicopter up to wherever we went to and then did the dog sledding, which was just like felt like a once in a lifetime experience. And that was amazing because first of all, you fly up there, and then secondly, you have all these amazingly cute huskies, and then they get very excited that they're going to pull you around on a sled. I mean, that was amazing. But equally, the train is a great experience going right up to the top of the mountain, and you're quite close to the edge, but it's all very safe. So they were the two things for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think if one has the budget, because it's very expensive, getting up onto the glaciers in Juneau, either when I was there last year, I did walking on the glacier because they weren't doing the dog sledding last year. I don't know whether that's something over from COVID stuff. Although the dogs still go up there for the summer because it's cold enough for them up there. But getting up on the glacier, but it's going to cost like $600 per person, roughly.
Was it? Right.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, I think the one I did was not as expensive. That it was maybe $400, but it's still a lot of money. It's $400. So it's like start saving in your piggy bank. But that dog sledding, getting onto the glacier is amazing. I mean, I'm completely geek and I love the train. I went on the train again when I was there. So maybe the answer is I did pretty much the same things as Mark and I did because they were so good.
Yeah.
I did the also in Juneau. What's quite fun is they've changed the name there, but it was the Mount Roberts Tramway. It's called something else now. I can't remember.
And you've also got the lumberjack show in
Ketchikan,
which is fun.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Is I haven't followed this a lot. I have seen a lot of other vloggers talking about the Elite Move. So that is always a good watch out. Mike's asking, how do I feel about celebrity getting the Forbes Travel Awards this week? I did my first celebrity trip Monday, Summit Western Caribbean. So first of all, enjoy the cruise. I'm a little bit skeptical, to be honest, Mike, on the awards. There are so many awards. I mean, even in London alone, there's about 4 or 5 travel awards, and they all happen in the space of about a week or so. And as a real skeptic, I tend to find you see lots of sponsors in the program and they all seem to win. So I'm a skeptic. Now, Forbes is probably a little bit less biased, but it's great. I mean, celebrity, I think the celebrities are trying to up what they do. I think they're probably doing it really well on the new ships. And we're using, I mean, for the group cruise in September, we're using Celebrity. It sounds very grand. The September 2024 group cruise to Canada New England is going to be on Celebrity. So that would be good. Oh, very nice. Someone's good.
I know, I like that.
Round trip to very, very nice. Very envious of that. That sounds a good way to spend some lottery money. No. Short answer, no. On Oceania, you would literally be the only person in a black tie. It's pretty casual. I mean, even on the sort of dress-up nights, a long sleeve shirt and smart trousers is more than fine. People, sometimes when they go to some specialities might, wear a tie, but no, absolutely don't need a black tie. There's so few lines now where you need a black tie. It's like so few. Oh, thanks very much. Heather was live and jumped up here. I didn't pick up that you were doing a live, Heather, so thank you very much. Sorry I missed your live. No name asking another question. Any opinion of Sea Dream, or am I also getting lots of ads for scenic? Have you taken them? No, I haven't taken Sea Dream. It's one that I do want to do. They keep asking me to go, and as you probably know, I don't do press trips, so I haven't been on any of their offers yet, but I would like to go on Sea Dream.
They're the small.
Yeah, those really, really small ones. And Ben and David were back on for their second one recently. So I am very keen to try Sea Dream. I know people who absolutely love Sea Dream. The ships were getting pretty tired, but they have revamped all the ships. I'm looking at some pictures. They look pretty good. So if you like that really small ship thing, then absolutely then. My wife Pat says, so she must be right, is the cruises are expensive, yes, even not so luxury and due to various reasons. Do you think prices? No, I think prices, I mean, they might do, but generally, a lot of it depends, Tim, on where you're looking. Prices absolutely are going up because ships are getting fuller and fuller and fuller. Ships in the Caribbean are sailing in peak times over 100% capacity, which they can do because of the way capacity is measured. I mean, even on our Christmas cruises, over 100% capacity. So cruise lines are finding it much easier to fill ships. So the secret, Tim, is at the moment booking sort of far out. It's sort of slightly counterintuitive because before you get locals, so you can wait short, stuff coming on sale short time. But certainly, I think I talk about it. I can't remember if the video's come out yet. Looking at pricing, and I was comparing, if I compare Cunard, having done Cunard sort of before pandemic 21, 22 into 23 and looking at 24, the price for the same cabin, same cruise have gone up 30%. And there's a lot of pressure on pricing, and cruise lines are pushing really hard. They've upped their marketing spend. They're trying to attract lots of new to cruise people. So I think the price is up. So it's about shopping kind of wisely and smart, I think so. Oh, sorry, that was the point. Interesting, Monterey, I saw that earlier, I mentioned that. They don't like the view, is why they're not on cruise ships. Okay. Heather, what footwear do you need for our late August Alaska cruise? We had to switch from drier May to late August. I want to be rainy, muddy. I always actually just had like trainery type shoes when I've been there, like just trainers. So any time of the year. So, but it can rain any time of the year. So something that's fairly waterproof any time of the year is the key. Let's have a look. Here we go. Any tips for a couple of hours in Lisbon based on your last trip there?
I mean, sort of the place to go there now is the Time Out food market. Yeah. There's this great, food market which I thought was just sponsored by Time Out, but it's actually owned by Time Out, I think is my understanding. And it's just, huge hall, lots of really good food all around, just to, look around everyone, and you have to make a decision what you're going to get. But that is kind of a real center for let's just go and have some nice food, have a drink in a really buzzy atmosphere. I mean, we also did the hop on hop off bus. There's about three different routes as well. So if you have time, doing one of those would also be good.
And also, there's near where the cruise ships go with an easy walking distance. That very beautiful square. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, like the sense. Yeah,
it's called Park or something. Anyway, there's a very beautiful square there, which has a big statue and stuff in there, and you can watch ships go by or people go by. And just off there's some very nice little streets with little cafes and things. So and that's literally within walking distance.
And eat some custard tarts.
And eat some custard tarts. Absolutely. Let's have a look. I booked a studio on Norwegian Cruise Line for Alaska, and I'm 60. What can I look to do? Your opinions. So I'm wondering if that's on Encore, which is what you were looking at one time. So Norwegian Cruise Line, I mean, loads and loads and loads of entertainment that they have. And one of the things I would, so they have the full-on production shows, depending on which ship you're on, what it will be. They have loads of live music around the place. What Norwegian are doing is they're slightly changing the way that you pre-book some of those shows, because generally speaking, you do when you got on board, it was fairly easy. But they're introducing a system that, say, Viking have or Disney have, where it's based on the cabin you're cruising in or your status level is how early you can book those. So what I would do, Peter, is work out when things come on to book and book those. So especially dining, your obviously excursions as well, and the shows. The great thing about the studio as a solo traveler is there's a little lounge there, which is a great place to kind of meet people and so on. So let's have a look and see. Lots of discussion about the Oceania thing. Lots of discussion on Palm Springs too.
Your best.
What did I miss?
That.
Just a reminder, write the word question. Oh, here we go. They do write the word question. There's a lot of chat, which is always great, but let's write the word question, which is very good. What is the weather like on a Mediterranean cruise at the end of October? It's Jovaholic Jones. It's kind of mixed. So depending on which part of the Mediterranean. So we've done Mediterranean
we did Greece, but we did Greece at the beginning of October.
Yeah, and I've done it sort of middle October. So if you go down to Greece, it's kind of 20. I don't know if you want Fahrenheit, but it's 20, 22, 23 degrees.
70,
It's about 70 degrees.
Yeah.
A little bit changeable, can get a little bit chilly. If you're up, so it's nice, but it's not really hanging around the beach. I mean, we did go swim, but it was kind of cold. The sea's cold by that time of the year. But it's fairly nice weather. It's more sightseeing weather than beach weather, I guess.
But hopefully it is still nice blue skies. It's just not quite as hot. So it should be. It should still be nice. But not sunbathing weather.
Now, here's an interesting one. Journey with Josh. Which would be more strenuous, Galapagos or Antarctica? I'm injured for work, so either will now have to wait. I mean, both are pretty sort of strenuous. Galapagos, one of the Galapagos is half your excursions will actually be snorkeling. So, but on Galapagos, it's, this kind of walking on uneven ground. So if it's one of those injuries where, your knees or your ankles or something are a bit messed up, you're going to be walking kind of on uneven ground, and there's sort of a circuit you'll do in all those places. Antarctica, obviously, you're going to be on ice, etc., and you're stepping on and off RRB boats. But again, quite a lot of the excursions in Antarctica will be going out on the RRB boats around. But to really get, you're right, to get the most out of either, being fairly fit is a good idea, or fairly able is a good idea. So they're kind of different another way, because you also, if you've got an injury where you don't feel confident walking on snow and ice, you probably don't want to go to Antarctica. I have been to Antarctica with on two of the times both times we've been in Antarctica, there have been people with very limited mobility, and in fact in a wheelchair. So we got to do a lot of scenic cruising on one of them, because the ship wasn't very full, because it was just didn't come out of COVID. One day they actually took the guy in the wheelchair, put him on RRB, and took him into Deception Island where there was no ice. So you could literally say he stood on the continent. But it's not, if you spend that sort of money, I wouldn't, I would wait. Lots of people asking the question about this. So the yes is the answer. I'll repeat again in case you joined a little bit later. So I have a group cruise in April 2024 to the Caribbean on Holland America Eurodam, which is for patrons and channel members. So it's an initial kind of cruise, quite a small group, probably like 25, 30 of us. And more people book, I guess. And so that's in the Caribbean. So channel member. So if you want to become a channel member, look at the join button, or Patreon. It's Tips for Travelers. And then there is another one, which will be a more open cruise, which is in September 2024 to Canada, New England on Celebrity Eclipse. That's all got finalized. It's going to go on sale just for the last few bits and pieces 1st of March for patrons on the mailing list, which I'll put a link to about 2 or 3 weeks later, and then I'll do a more general announcement as we've kind of worked through those, just kind of staggering that. So yes is the answer. Mia didn't like it. Mia is close for didn't like my Panama Canals and then too many to-dos and things. That's very mean. Okay. Erickson's asked the question, have you ever been to the cruise days in Hamburg, Germany? Do you know anything? Yes, I have. I actually have a video on my channel about it. So if you go to the channel, if you go to my channel, and then you'll see along the top, you'll see a little search icon. We've got videos, community, whatever it is, little search button. If you search cruise days, I've got a video about it. It's pretty impressive because you have the year I was, we had I think 6 ships. I think last year was even bigger. You have fireworks. They have the whole blue harbor where they've turned all the bridges and stuff blue, and you can go on a little tour of that. They have a big expo with all the cruise lines. It really is quite something. It's really amazing. So I think I missed this question earlier, Jerry. Have you looked at Celebrity Flora? I did look at Celebrity Flora when I went to Galapagos. I chose to go on Silversea. Ironically, even though Silversea theoretically is more premium, it was actually marginally cheaper than Celebrity Flora. It is exactly the same ship. They're obviously both owned by Royal Caribbean, Silversea and Celebrity. It is exactly the same ship, same layout, obviously different color scheme and slightly different decor. I would go with Onyx. I'm a big when it comes to expeditions, I'm a massive fan of Silversea because I've always had such good experience with the expedition team. So that's sort of why I went with them. And that's a good point, actually. Jeff making the point is they do some promotions with no solar supplements at various point in time. Regent did. Let's have a look. Steve, to get info on the get information. No, yeah. So probably I should explain. So if you're a subscriber or whatever, then ultimately, yes, you will be able to. But just in terms of the phasing, the timings, people who are a member of Patreon or a YouTube member, which is different to a subscriber, it's a small fee you pay every month. You just how much you want to pay, and then there's things like dedicated live streams or Zoom chats. There's ebook downloads. There's specific videos, and then there's the patron-only kind of cruise. And one of the perks is getting priority booking for the group cruise. It's not for everybody, and I always I've never pushed it that much, but if you look at the join button or you look at Patreon and see if that's for you. So, but ultimately you will be able to come on the cruise without being one of those. So yeah, and get on the mailing list. I will put the mailing list because that's another good way of doing that to people who've said that. Let's have a look. Sarah's also answered the question on that as well. Marilyn, I'm on Holland America on the 13th of May 23. Should I expect any strict entry to Montreal and ship? I'm New York, US citizen. Strict entry to Montreal on the ship. You will have just the norm. Normally what happens, Marilyn, is normally you'll find that the immigration process is handled through the ship unless you're disembarking in Montreal. So if you're disembarking in Montreal, which is possible if you're doing a kind of a Boston to Montreal, you'll just go through the normal kind of the normal passporty kind of stuff. So there won't be any stricter than flying in or whatever. And sometimes it's actually slightly smoother because they kind of know. Right, this looks like a very long question. Peeking above there. Taking off first cruise this summer, Holland American northbound from Vancouver. I get seasick, so I felt inside passage good way to explore Alaska. That's a very good point. It's a good option versus the more Seattle up. My wife doesn't like seafood or the smell of a fish boat. She doesn't like heights. Juno Cavalier definitely out. We're not to extreme sports. The only thing we booked besides the trip is the White Pass and Yukon train sightseeing. Yeah. Skagway, we're not to touristy things, Lumberjack show. Suggestions for Ketchikan or Juneau. Okay, so in Ketchikan, try the Lumberjack show. It's really good fun. It's about $32.
I think they said they didn't like it.
Oh, no, they didn't like it.
But actually,
sorry.
But actually, in Ketchikan, there's just lots of lovely little shops to have there's that whole area, isn't it?
There's a great thing. Sorry. Yeah. So in Ketchikan, there's a place, it's called Creek something. which is a little walk past there,
Yeah.
which used to be basically the red light district, effectively.
Oh, that's
and they're
right,
built
yeah.
over. It's built over the river, and some like quite interesting
Like
stories.
arty,
There's sort of
crafty
arty
sort of
craft
shops and
kind of shops. There's also in Juneau, if you are interested, we did it. Is you can get a little. It's not really a hop on hop of bus, but it's like a little tram trolley thing, which goes out to an area where there's a American Indian craft shop, and they have a totem pole connection display, I guess is the way I would put it.
Yeah.
So, and you can actually get a little tour. Now you can actually book it through the cruise line as well. They'll take in a tour, and they will explain each of the totem poles. And my name, I forgot
Was that
the
in
name.
Juneau?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was in Ketchikan.
Yeah, okay.
That was in Ketchikan. No, that's in Juneau.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, I don't know because we did the dogs. We did the
No,
dogs
sorry,
there.
you're right. Sorry,
Oh,
you're
that's
right.
where
It was
it
in
was.
it was in Ketchikan.
We
No.
did the lumberjack show there. I'm
No,
not
it
sure
was-
where it is.
Yeah, because we did lumberjacks in the morning. We did that in the afternoon.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's
So I remember
right.
walking. I can remember the ship and the walking.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's really good. And in Juneau, actually, just strolling around. So what I did in Juneau is, if you walk all the way around Juneau, you go right round to where the water plane, the planes are down on the water.
Seaplanes.
Seaplanes, thank you. Seaplanes are. There's some very nice fish and chip shops there. So you can actually just kind of meander around. There are also, I'm guessing, and you won't want to go whale watching, so that's probably not a bad idea. Actually, just ambling. There are also.
I mean, in places you go, there's plenty to just have a walk around and see. Isn't there? So,
yeah. I'm just trying to think. There's also, some of them do have hikes and things as well. And also, what you might want to do is, when you get off the ship, is there's normally like little booths and things. Certainly in Juneau, right when you get off the ship, there's little booths which will have all kind of different kind of activities as well to have a look at. Question for Mark. I think it's slightly esoteric one in a way. If Cunard sell one of their ships to another company, would you sail with them, or is it more Cunard service you like and not the ship? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's sort of who owns it is not really important to me. I think I like the ship, I like the service. So yeah, if it was the same service and it looked the same, then absolutely it would not make any difference to me who owned it. And you're right, it's not so much that it's Cunard, it's just like, I really love the food, the restaurant, just generally the general vibe of the ship. I like, yeah.
So, what is your favorite souvenir to buy on a Mediterranean cruise? Ports of France and Italy. Well, I'm terrible one to ask because I never buy souvenirs, ever. Most people tend to buy. I mean, there's a couple of camps. Like, a lot of people will buy, although it's slightly tat, but they will buy the kind of if you're going to
limoncello in Italy.
Yeah, limoncello in Italy, or I'm trying to think of all the different, kind of more foodie kind of based things, assuming you can take those back to where you are, or let you go the classic, which your mother always does, and we used to do is the fridge magnet stuff. So I tend to buy. I don't buy a lot of souvenirs, but if anyone has a better idea than we've just had, but it would tend to be something like that's very from there, like the limoncello or whatever. Well, these two jockeys, is that because we've been bouncing around? I guess we're on like these sort of stools, so we're both the same height.
No.
So we're very different heights. So we're actually using like our kitchen stool, so we can.
They're very uncomfortable, and I have to keep moving because it's hurting my back.
Yeah, they are a little bit uncomfortable. Okay. Yes. We did certainly on the dog sledding one, on the glacier walking. There were some kids on the helicopter behind me. I guess because it's so expensive as a family, it's kind of crazy expensive. Okay, so Robert is off on Prima. I'm really interested in finding out what you think of Prima, because I'm booked on. I think we mentioned that. I think we were emailing each other. If it's the same Robert, I'm on Viva in November, so I'm really interested in seeing how you found that. Okay, I feel bad now. I feel like I'm pushing the members and patrons. So, so if you want to become a patron, if you go to Patreon, in fact, I'll bring it up. I have a little saying that. I'm embarrassed. I have a little chitty on it. So, what am I talking about? So, just /join, but actually underneath any video, you'll see a button called join, and you can see what they are. Or Patreon, it's tips for travelers, if that's that's of interest. So we're going to close all comments off. Oops, and I'm flashing now. Right. Oh, Janet's coming. Great. So Janet's so Janet's just saying got a cruise next month and then saving the money to come on Wise, which I really appreciated. Okay. What is the minimum time you consider to be safe for connecting flights in order to make a connection with your luggage? Now, Dennis,
Gary and I would have different views.
We would have very different views. I am very conservative, and I'm a little bit, and as Sarah knows, like for example, on Wednesday, I'm flying Heathrow to Madrid, then Madrid to Santiago. Now, when the flights were booked and Sarah was looking at the flights, the recommendation was to get like, I can't remember, like a 7 o'clock flight, which gets to Madrid at like, I can't remember, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or something. And my next flight's at midnight. It's like, I wanted to go on the 5 o'clock flight that gets at 7, so I have 3 or 4 hours there. Just because I'm probably more worried about the flight connecting bit than the, so I would always like to have a good hour and a half. Now, depending on where it is, but generally speaking, I like to have like a good hour and a half or so time. I just get less stress. I mean, I think any less, because it just, any small delay then just eats into. I flew into LA and then was going on to Vegas, and I think we ended up having like less than an hour, but we managed to do it in the end. But it was very, very tight. No, we picked up our bags and then. Of course, in the US, you have to pick up your bags. Yeah. I was assuming that the bags are being.
Yeah, it just depends which way around. But personally, I'd rather get my bags and recheck them in because I don't trust the connection.
But that's also why I love it to Dennis. But that's why, because like I'm going on the trip to South America, and I do need kind of warm clothes and stuff as well, because it's going to be chilly on some of these excursions and things. So I really want my bag to make it. So I want to build in time for flights being late. So that's kind of why. So I'm ultra conservative. I'm the person who's at the airport. I really quite like getting to the airport early. So let's have a look. Remember, if you're doing a question, write the word question. It's good to actually have a marker because he picks up on some of them.
Mum's there.
Oh, hello, Sally.
That's my mum. Hi, Sally.
So she's here. So just what I hope she wasn't here when we were slagging her off earlier on. We weren't ready, Sally. Garth, question: how do Virgin do transatlantic crossing, or do you suggest you? I'm not quite sure. So Virgin don't do classic transatlantic crossing, but obviously they reposition their ships. So for example, you've got Valiant Lady, was it Scarlet Lady, sailing in Miami. They'll move that across. At the end of the season, so they will do a transatlantic, which will normally be from the Caribbean to the Mediterranean. Now they're actually going to be moving ships down to Australia, I think next year. So obviously do a repositioning thing as well. So they're more repositioning than transatlantics, but they happen to be across the Atlantic. So yes, they definitely do them. Joy's question chopped off. So
there's a question.
What 7-day cruise in October would you recommend for a married gay couple who are cruise newbies?
I guess it depends where you.
Well, October is sort of med. It's kind of a hybrid between med.
I mean, like we did. So I don't know. A couple of years ago, we did a Greece cruise in early October, and it was lovely. Actually, the weather was really nice. That was a really nice one. I mean, transatlantic crossings are always amazing experience. It depends what you want to get at. If you really want to get the cruise, the experience of a cruise, then transatlantic crossing is amazing, but maybe not the first one. But something.
Yeah, something like because also it'll be a little bit kind of warmer and so on. Obviously, if you're more US and you want Caribbean, then any of the Caribbean ones. But if you look at like a Celebrity, for example, they have, most cruise lines are pretty gay friendly, but Celebrity is very known for it. Cunard is very well known for it. So I'd rather do a Caribbean, or as Mark said, that Greek island things. Jeffrey, yes, because I have Mark with me, I'm not using my normal lapel mic. I'm actually using another mic. I was trying to reduce some of the echo with stuff.
So that's interesting. Is it maybe not?
Yeah, and I'm going to send it back because actually I did a test earlier using my other mic, which we did when we were actually in San Diego.
Yeah.
We used this mic, and I think this might actually have less audio. So I will listen to that. I'm guessing you're asking because it's not working so well, or it's a little bit echoey when I listened back before. So I will play around with that for next time. Let's have a look. We are on our first cruise, Viking, Mediterranean, Venice. So that's actually the itinerary we're talking about, which is fantastic. There are excursions every day. Sounds like weather might be so-so in April. Will we be too busy? So I actually did that in March. I did the other way. I did Venice and down to in March, and there were excursions every day. You won't be too busy because you're going to be. Most of the Viking excursions are half days, particularly on that itinerary. They're not all long full day excursions, and because you don't have to do them. So I actually didn't do all of the excursions. Some of them I did myself. Some I did half a day. So you will have time to sort of explore. You will have time to pace yourself. But it's a great itinerary. It really is a fantastic itinerary. So let's have a look. Let's take at least one more question. Mike, best value for money, Platinum with Princess, so that's the level. Always do Princess Plus. Should we move up to a Viking Oceania level? Mike, it's very interesting because I've done a video actually, which hasn't been edited yet. We're also actually looking at a slightly different way, which is moving from a suite, up to a, doing like a Regent or a Silver Sea, because actually it ends up being the same price. I would give it a go because it's a very different experience. If you want a smaller ship experience, I would give a smaller ship experience a go at least once to see if it's for you. You're not going to have as many shows, you're not going to have as much choice, but it is a different experience, and I would see if it is for you. In terms of value for money, at the end of the day, depending on what grade you're traveling on Princess, if you're traveling a suite or something, with everything bundled in, you're going to find the prices very, very kind of comparable. So I would definitely give a small ship cruise, a go. I would absolutely do that. So we have unfortunately run out of time charging through. I just want to let you know that there will, because I'm going to be away, there will not be a live stream for a while. I'm actually going to do a members only live stream as a risk. I'm going to try it when I'm actually on Home America. So that I'm going to try that. But the next live stream is once I get back from that, so a couple of weeks' time. But I do list all of the live streams on the channel. So if you go to the channel, Just for Travelers, you'll find all the upcoming live streams. And you'll also see I've got more guests coming up, some of the smaller channels, emerging channels. There is a video coming out which will go live when this is finished, which is part of my series around the 100, my 100th cruise. And I look at the 11 all-time kind of best cruises. So take a look at that. So thanks very much, Mark.
I'll push myself into the schedule again sometime.
Mark will push it back into the schedule amongst all the other things. So as I said, I will be away cruising. If you're going cruising, have a great, safe time. Thanks so much for joining. Lots of people joined. I'll have a look at see if there's any questions I've missed and try and answer those either in posts or shorts or whatever. So have a great rest of the weekend. Take care, and thank you very much for joining.